So colleagues, I would like to welcome everyone to our council meeting on February the 26th, 2025. And I will now call on Will Short, Regional Clerk, to make a roll call.
Thank you, Chair Redmond. Regional Chair Redmond.
Present.
Councillor Craig.
Present.
Councillor Foxton.
Present.
Councillor Erb.
Present.
Councillor Salonen.
Present.
Councillor Wolf. Councillor Nowak. Councillor Harris.
Present.
Councillor McCabe.
Present.
Councillor Shantz.
Present.
And we have a couple of other members who are down and closed, and we'll get back on open after that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I'd like to acknowledge that the land on which we gather today is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabeg, and Chinatan peoples. In doing so, I want to reflect on what it means to be doing important community work like we are engaging in collectively today, and also my own individual relationship to this land. As a settler, one of the most important aspects of my individual journey towards truth and reconciliation has been to listen, and I am continually grateful that the community continues to share their stories and concerns with me. As well as chair of the region, I know I carry a large responsibility to ensure that it is not just myself on an individual level listening and acting, but that as a government we are listening and creating action in the community. I also offer this acknowledgement as one of my many actions I personally in the region largely is taking on our journey to reconciliation. We acknowledge the enduring presence of the Indigenous people with whom we share this land today, their achievements and their contributions to our community. We now need a motion to go into close. I would ask for a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Salonen, seconded by Councillor Wolf. Please use your e-scribe to vote. And you're voting on going into a closed council meeting this date at 5 p.m. in the Waterloo County Room. And it is to discuss a trade secret or scientific, technical, commercial, financial, or labor relations information, labor relations related to a settlement with a union, and labor relations related to ongoing negotiations. Colleagues, that is carried. We will now proceed to a closed session in the Waterloo County Room. I'd like to welcome everybody to tonight's meeting, and I would entertain a motion to reconvene an open session. If I could have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Hunick, seconded by Councillor Schatz. Please use your e-scribe to vote. And you're voting that Council resume open session. Councillors Liggett and Wolf, could you please cast ballots? Thank you, colleagues. That carries. I'm pleased to see so much support around this table and in the community today for Pink Shirt Day, also known as Anti-Bullying Day. We wear pink in solidarity to raise awareness about bullying and harassment and to encourage kindness, inclusiveness, empathy, and allyship. We all have a role to play in ending bullying in its many forms. As we wear pink today, let's remember to address bullying and discrimination all year long. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act? Seeing none, we have no presentations. We do, however, have delegations. And as we proceed to delegations as listed on the agenda, I would like to remind all delegations of some guidelines for participation. If you're attending in person, please proceed to the podium when you're called upon to speak. You will have 5 minutes to speak if you are registered before the deadline, and 3 minutes if you registered after. Additionally, some general reminders. If you conduct yourself in any of the following manners, it will result in an immediate removal from the meeting. Interrupting councillors, staff, or other delegations. Derogatory statements about councillors, staff, or others. Turning your camera on at inappropriate times. Hate speech or defamatory comments. One last reminder for delegations, please do not take offense if following your presentation there are no questions from council. This is council's time to really listen and reflect upon the opinions and ideas shared with us from our community members. As a quick reminder to the members of the audience, you are asked to maintain order. This means that you may not address council without the permission of the chair, interrupt anyone, disrupt the meeting with unreasonable noise or vocal expression such as applause, booing, or cheering, and display signs or posters. Our first delegation is Nadia Muhammad, Family Literacy Manager Project, Read Literacy Network, Waterloo, Wellington, PRLN. Nadia, welcome. You have the floor and 5 minutes.
Thank you. Respectable Council Chair, Council members, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. My name is Nadia Muhammad, and I'm here to discuss the importance of family literacy and the impact of our programs in the Waterloo region. Next, please. Now, literacy is more than just reading and writing. It includes speaking, listening, numeracy skills, and allowing individuals to communicate, understand, and fully participate in society. Next, please. A literate person can use reading, writing, speaking, and numerical skills effectively to understand and participate in the world around them. Literacy is not a fixed skill. It needs to be exercised and challenged. Otherwise, the skill will not strengthen and may weaken. Next, please. Unfortunately, as you can see, 48% of Canadians fall into the lowest 2 levels of literacy. So about half of Canadians struggle with low literacy, which affects all aspects of life, health, employment, economic stability. Children in low literacy households are at higher risk of poverty and limited opportunities. Next, please. The intergenerational cycle of literacy. The family is the strongest element in shaping lives. It's the most powerful support network there is. It is where the cycle of learning begins. where the attitudes of parents about learning become the educational values of their children. Next, please. Low literacy often appears as a cycle within families. Since the parents don't read and write well, they don't carry out the kinds of activities with their young children that foster reading and writing. They don't have a model passed down by their parents for building literacy skills. Next, please. Now, what is family literacy? Family literacy is about parents and children learning together. Parents are their children's first and most important teachers. Our programs empower parents with skills and strategies for supporting their children's education. Next, please. Here you can see some wonderful activities going on, families doing them together. Next, please. These programs equip parents with new skills, encourage outdoor learning, promote fun and engaging family activities, and provide parents with dedicated learning time while children participate in quality programming. Next, please. By educating multiple generations, family literacy programs strengthen families, improve self-sufficiency, and foster lifelong learning habits. Next, please. Now, the family literacy programs known as Get, Set, Learn outcomes. Through Get, Set, Learn programs, parents gain confidence in their role as educators for their children, reinforcing early learning and school readiness. Next, please. Last year, 2023 to 24, we offered various Get, Set, Learn programs, total 9, and they were both in-person and online. So they included Get, Set, Learn Coding, Unplugged, Get, Set, Learn Outdoor Play, Get, Set, Learn Go Green, which was about sustainability, and in collaboration with the Somali-Canadian Association of Waterloo Region. Next, please. Since 2003, Get, Set, Learn has collaborated with many community partners, including the region of Waterloo, and they have funded our programs. We were funded by Ontario Trillium Foundation to expand our program, and which became Outdoor Play. Thanks to the Waterloo Region Community Foundation, we were able to offer the Get, Set, Learn Go Green program, and we continue offering in-person programs for the Somali community.
Nadia, you have 1 minute remaining.
Okay, thank you. Next, please. Some challenges. Despite our success, securing sustainable funding remains a challenge. Many funders focus solely on either children's or adults' literacy, while our approach supports both generations together. Creating a lasting impact, continuing funding is essential to keep programs accessible, develop new initiatives, and expand our reach to more families in need. Without consistent financial support, it becomes difficult to maintain the quality and effectiveness that families rely on to break the cycle of low literacy. Next, please. Thank you very much for your time and for listening, and I hope you will start thinking about it, supporting programs which support families together. Thank you so much.
Nadia, your timing was excellent. It's about photo finish, and Councillor Hunick has a question.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Nadia, for coming. As I read through your report, I was really inspired and encouraged. Everything that the Family Literacy Program does seems fantastic. I also want to encourage any parents or children out there who do not learn to read or write or speak according to typical timelines. They can still live meaningful lives and gain meaningful employment and have a meaningful impact on their communities. And I know that you know that, but I just think of anybody who might be watching who might not recognize it in that day, in this time. And so just wanted to encourage them as well. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. And I have seen so many stories, being a newcomer to Canada myself. There are so many success stories, so many stories that we have observed parents, because when you are new in Canada, you need help, you need support. Everyone does. Thank you so much.
Nadia, we have another question. Councillor Erb.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks for the report and for the work that you're doing. I'm wondering, do you have any relationship with Strong Start, which is a program that's very intentional in the schools to help children with literacy?
So the only difference, we have a very similar program. The only difference is they focus on children, but we focus on the whole family. We invite parents as well. They stay in the program, and we have a session with them. Half time is with the whole family, and half the time is with parents only. when the children are being taken care of.
Okay, thank you.
And Nadia, I started my week out at Immigration Partnership at a very, very informative half morning on Monday. And one of the things I was reflecting on is so many new Canadians, when they come over, it's the children that gain the language so quickly, and they're often used as interveners, either for medical appointments or to go to see the doctor or the lawyer. So it's wonderful that you're taking the family approach, because it allows people to become very active in the community in a much faster way. So thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Our next delegation is John Jordan from Wilmot. Welcome, John. You have the floor and you have 5 minutes. John, you need to turn the mic on right at the base. Is there a button?
Button maybe with my, okay. Are we better now?
Better.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to ask the councillors at the Horseshoe this evening just some simple questions where a show of hands is all that's required. How many councillors received copies of the short videos that were sent before tonight for the delegation, but we were unable to do so by the chair's decision to restrict these from the meeting?
So, John, I can tell you that everybody has received both links to both videos.
Okay, thank you. I hope they become part of your video collection. Would any Waterloo Regional Councillor voluntarily give up your home, your property, your career, your life savings, the dreams of you, your children, and your grandchildren for the sake of some unknown corporation? Seeing none, unanimous.
So, John, I'm going to caution you that you've come to delegate. This isn't a debate, so please proceed with your information.
I'm not debating anything. I was just asking a simple question for a show of hands.
Well, I don't think you'll see anybody raising their hands.
Okay.
We're here to listen to what you have to tell us, John.
Okay, I'll just have you ask yourselves of these questions then. Why is it okay to ask it of the farmers and landowners in Wilmot Township affected by your land assembly for them to give up everything that you would not give up? My next question I would like you to reflect on is how many of you, Waterloo Regional Councillors, are in favor of Trump's plan to take over and annex Canada? And I'm assuming the answer will be none. Then why are you, the Waterloo Regional Councillors, in favor of taking over the private properties of farmers, the landowners in Wilmot Township, who are unwilling? They are being bullied. Yes, bullied. To sell their private land, which will destroy their lives, their livelihoods, the land, their businesses, and those of agricultural-related businesses for great distances. You keep saying you want to be fair to the farmers, but where is the fairness in this whole process, which is completely upending their lives and their businesses? You have all indicated that none of you would give up your lives or your livelihoods. From the Region of Waterloo website, it states, harassment includes, but is not limited to, experiencing objectionable or unwelcome conduct, comment, or bullying. On this Pink Shirt Day, I want to provide the definition of bullying. Bullying is the use of force, coercion, hurtful teasing, comments, or threats in order to abuse, aggressively dominate, or intimidate. The behavior is often repeated and habitual. We know that this group, the Fight for Farmland, Wilmot Can, and the thousands of allies and supporters who have inspired the residents of this region and beyond, and that they know the tenacity that is needed to persevere in a world of capitalists and politicians with hidden and secret agendas who see these farmers of this township and far beyond as an obstacle or even red tape, instead of seeing them as the keystone to their very survival. The region of Waterloo unanimously solidified its support for the Buy Canadian movement, indicating this council is not in favor of Trump taking over Canada. Yet this annexation of land in Wilmot very much looks like a Trump bully tactic, and that is lockstep with the Ford government, which you are all in favor and part of. As per the overwhelming and irrefutable results of the polling done by Palace Data in Kitchener-Conestoga in late January,
John, you have 1 minute
Wilmot
remaining.
is definitely not a willing host. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I see no questions. Next delegation is Peter McFadden from Kitchener. Peter, are you with us? Welcome to the podium, and you have 5 minutes.
Good evening. Chair Redmond and members of council. My name is Peter McFadden. I've proudly called Kitchener home for 43 years, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you tonight as we address our region's 2025 budget challenges. I address a key issue: our region's voluntary participation in the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, FCM, and ICLEI, Canada's Partners for Climate Protection's PCP program. While the program is promoted as free, the truth is that it comes with significant hidden costs, and it's the council's responsibility to determine just how much these costs affect us. The PCP program requires our municipality to collect extensive data on community and municipal operations, which is then forwarded to ICLEI, connecting us with affiliated product suppliers, a process that may see as more of a marketing scheme than a genuine environmental initiative. This process often results in costly recommendations being added to our agenda. Whether it's new staffing, expensive equipment like EV buses and charging stations, or sweeping initiatives such as smart city technologies and urban densification, these costs add up. And they are a direct consequence of voluntarily participating in this program. There are significant costs associated with meeting the program's requirements. For example, establishing a baseline data inventory, setting reduction targets, and developing a local action plan could cost between $35,000 and $175,000. Implementing that plan, including investments in municipal fleet upgrades, EV charging stations, municipal building upgrades, smart city technology, circular economy initiatives, the 15-minute city model, active transportation networks, and urban densification could cost between $14 million and $201 million. Additionally, monitoring and tracking progress each year to hand over our data to ICLEI could range from $10,000 to $50,000 a year. The bottom line is simple. Net zero initiatives are not mandatory for Canadian municipalities, and this program costs money. The council must review all expenditures to date, including staff time, consulting fees, and all initiatives related to climate action, and provide full transparency on what we have been signed up for. We have a straightforward option. Withdraw from this program by passing a motion and sending a letter of withdrawal to FCM. Doing so would restore our local agenda and refocus our budget on the essential municipal responsibilities that meet our community's immediate needs, ensuring that every dollar spent directly benefits the community rather than being tied up in global marketing schemes. In summary, scaling back our commitment to the FCM ICLEI PCP program could free up substantial funds for critical local needs. I respectfully recommend that the region commission a thorough, transparent cost analysis covering all past and projected expenditures and seriously consider withdrawing from the PCP program altogether.
You have 1 minute remaining, Peter.
The ICLEI Canada team from across the country supports this recommendation. Our mission is to promote practical, locally driven solutions that ensure every dollar spent benefits from our community, not lost in costly one-size-fits-all global mandates that primarily enrich multirational corporations, their affiliated consultants, and product suppliers. Thank you for your time. I am now happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. We do have a question. Councillor Foxton.
Actually, Madam Chair, I'd like to direct staff to provide more information on this for the council at a later date, if that's possible.
Do we have the consensus of council that they would like this issue to come back at a later date?
I just want more information about it, what it's about, how it runs, everything.
Would it suffice if we had an email, perhaps?
That's perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Peter. I don't see any questions.
I will leave a copy of my deputation right here on the table if any members of council would like.
Thank you. Colleagues, the next delegation is Mike Heptich, QP 1656 Chief Steward. Welcome, Mike. You have 5 minutes.
Good evening, Regional Chair Redmond, regional councillors, commissioners of the region. My name is Mike Heptich. I'm the Chief Steward with Local 1656 of CUPE, and I'm here tonight on behalf of the members in the sea of red behind me who work for you full and part-time to keep the services that the residents of the region depend on. We keep the region running. I should not have to be standing here in front of any of you today. Instead, myself, my fellow executives, we should be at a table ratifying an agreement that our members deserve. It's important to know how we got here today. We've been in negotiations for several months at this point, and just 2 short weeks ago, we on the executive believed we were this close to a deal, just a fraction of an inch away. We weren't far apart on wages, some outstanding issues. We believed a deal could be made with the region. We left negotiations optimistic. That's why it was shocking to receive an email, not even a phone call, but an email the next morning from the people representing you on the other side of the bargaining table, telling us that the offer they had given us was cut in half. They're taking it away, pulling the rug out from the hard workers of your region. They could only offer us less than half of the offer that was on the table not even 8 hours prior, citing a financial error. And I, for one, will admit mistakes happen. I've made them, you've made them, but this mistake was egregious. Coming back to us with half, less than half of what you had offered us, what your delegates representing you had offered the workers of this region. To have our employer pull back proposals that they'd already presented, that's not good faith bargaining. These have significantly damaged the trust that our members have, not only in our employers, it only has our members wondering what else the region is willing to pull back and claw back on. Our members have fought too hard for the rights and benefits that they enjoy in their collective agreements, and they do not take concessions lightly. Our members will not accept anything less than what was originally proposed by the employer at the table. The current offer is unacceptably low, not worth the paper it's been written on. Our members have felt inflation, constant rising costs of living. We have members choosing between groceries and rent before they come to work. We have members who have lost their homes and struggle to make both ends meet. And they have a regional job. We're proud of the work we do to help keep this region running, whether it's providing clean drinking water, whether it's airport maintenance and emergency services. We are doing regional road maintenance, maintenance of emergency services vehicles with both paramedics and the police. We are the regional road maintainers of signs, signals, traffic lights. We maintain the waste management systems in our region. We are the people who take care of the public housing that we have across the region. We are the facilities maintainers for both corporate and private structures. Not only that, we have some of the best skilled trades workers in the region, and they're working for you for less than what others outside the region have. I'm not talking privates. I'm talking about other municipalities in our area. We work hard to provide these services that the residents and taxpayers in the region depend on. We do not want to go on strike. March 3rd is our deadline. We are mere days away. 1 minute left. Thank you. I'm watching the clock. The good news is there's still time to fix this. There's more than enough time for you guys to have your delegates come back to the table with their offer. As councillors, you are employers. You are our employers. It's up to you to do what needs to be done to avoid this strike in the region, to avoid service disruptions for the services I mentioned earlier. We're asking you to please do the right thing. Come back to the table and honor the commitment that your executives have made to QP 1656 members by bringing back the original offer of wage proposals that your negotiating team offered us just a short couple of days ago. We can avoid the strike on March 3rd. Send it back to the table. And if you will, Chairman and councillors, I present you with an open letter from the members of QP 1656 to all of you, signed by our membership here in this room and those who could not join us, asking you to do the right thing, to come back to the table and honor your core values of supporting the people in your region. Thank you.
Mike, thank you very much. You can leave the letter on the table if you want. We'll distribute it.
Thank you.
And I really want to thank you and your colleagues for coming in and just say that the work that you do is so important to this community, and we are grateful. So you're all invited to stay for the rest of the council meeting if you want, but if anyone would like to leave, we could take a pause here. Again, you are welcome to stay. So colleagues, I would now consider a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meetings listed under items 8.1 to 8.8 on the agenda. If I could have a mover, moved by Councillor Nowak, seconded by Councillor Wolf. Please use your e-scribe to vote, and you're voting on, again, previous minutes from 8.1 to 8.8 on our agenda. That is carried, colleagues. The next agenda item is communications. We have items 9.1 through 9.3. They have been received for information. Item number 10 is motion to go into the committee of the whole. If I could have a mover and a seconder, moved by Councillor Schantz, seconded by Councillor McKay. Please use your e-scribe to vote that council go into committee of the whole to consider reports. Colleagues, that is carried. The next agenda item is finance reports. There are 4 finance reports tonight. The first 2 reports are straightforward. The third one deals with the final budget adjustments from staff, and the fourth is is information about the impact of the U.S. tariffs. Can I have a mover and a seconder for the first 2 reports? Moved by Councillor Wolf, seconded by Councillor Bravanovich. Please use your e-scribe to vote. And again, that's on those first two reports, 11.1.1 and 11.1.2. That is carried, colleagues. The next report is the 2025 budget, final budget adjustments. To address a council motion, I would call on Commissioner Wayne Steffler to provide some comments.
Thank you. So this is the follow-up report to the adjusted report from the report that was presented at committee. And this is following the approval that the committee made for the budget adjustments in the previous report, with the exception of $349,000. And so this report goes through some additional adjustments that we've provided, listening to the input we got from council, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Do I have a mover and a seconder to get this motion on the floor? Moved by Councillor Foxton, seconded by Councillor Erb. Any comments or questions? Councillor Verbanovich.
Well, thank you very much. And a couple of, actually a question first. And I realize this is subject to obviously what may or may not happen tomorrow in the provincial election. I'm just trying to find the exact wording. But the long and the short of it is, if the current government is re-elected, in their platform they have indicated that they will be giving different direction with respect to the use of photo radar in school zones and so on. And so I'm just wondering if what the impact of that will be, both in the coming year and beyond in terms of our budget, if in fact that were to be a change that's proposed by the government, or the future government, I guess, subject to the results of the election.
Mr. Spooner?
Yep, through you, Chair. So the only awareness I have on this issue is reviewing a platform. And so as Councillor Verbanovich has rightly pointed out, that could become a policy or legislation in the coming months. I don't have a reaction to that today. We reviewed it, and it didn't appear to make significant changes. But again, I've reviewed a platform only quickly, so we'll react as legislation changes. Thank you.
Okay.
Councillor Vanovich?
Yeah, if I can, I'll just make some comments in general, because as council was aware, I was in Washington the day of us discussing this at committee. And while I am pleased that council did review some of the issues that were being proposed by staff, I do have to say that in general, I was disappointed with the report that came forward to us with the suggested cuts. Chair Redmond will recall from her time many years ago on Kitchener Council, we used to have something called the Z list, and it was a list that was brought forward on an annual basis at budget time of cuts that weren't really palatable by council, and needless to say, didn't go anywhere. We eliminated the Z list some time ago, and I felt like a little bit of deja vu was happening as I read the report, and that we now had a new Z list at the region. I do think that we need to have a more robust budget process going forward in the future. I will support the motion that's in front of us today, because it gets us part of where we need to go. But we cannot be in a world again in 2026 with the kind of budget increase we saw around this horseshoe. Several of us voted against it, and I'm hoping that as collectively as a region we can do better in 2026. Thank you.
Councillor McCabe.
Thank you very much. My question about the report that's here before us is just about the travel reductions. And I just wanted to make sure, like, is that all of staff and council? Is that sort of how all-encompassing is the travel? Is this like for, vehicle travel, train, plane, like how extensive is it? And does it include council? Which I think it should be something across the board, so I'm just curious.
I think Mr. Getsky is going to take that one.
Thank you.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. So this is a reduction of the overall travel line for staff. So typically these are used for conferences. So I would say it's regardless of the mode of transport. There, the direction is to focus on what is offered in Ontario and try not travel outside of Ontario for conferences, except if it's required for regulatory reasons, for example, in which case we can't. We have to send people there and then look for Ontario and virtual alternatives this year.
Thanks. It just seemed a bit low, because conferences, I don't know, you can ballpark, like the AMO conference or the FCM conference, like when you factor in, travel and hotel and meals and the actual conference fee itself, like that's somewhere in the neighborhood of $2,000 to $3,000. So I was just surprised, that this number, I thought the intent was that it should include council, the council that is covered by not everyone's covered by this, my cost for conference fees comes out of the city of Waterloo. But so I was just surprised that this number is so low because I thought it was going to include councils and I was just, again, you send 3 people to a conference and that's probably 10 grand right there. So I'm just questioning the number.
Through you, Chair, and the way the objective was to, in line with the motion that was passed by council to limit increases to 5%. So we had that rule of thumb across all of our budget lines. The number is low also because we try to scan what are the opportunities that people were already aware of conferences outside of Ontario. Luckily this year, AMO is in Ottawa. So there were actually quite few opportunities to that had already been identified by staff to go outside of Ontario. So the idea is just to set a bit of a rule for everyone so that there's no surprises during the year, but that was our estimate based also on the target that was set by council.
I would have expected there would be more savings there. That's all.
So can I just ask, is your question with the quantum or the reduction? Because the reduction was 5%, right?
The reduction, yeah. Like I said, I just thought even with 5%, I would have thought that this number was higher. And I did think that it was including council. So I guess the answer is it's not including council. Correct? It's just for staff.
This is, sorry.
No,
this was adjusted in a few different areas. This wasn't a complete removal of all travel budgets. It was just looking at certain areas and removing it. On top of that, we made this rule internally that we're going to limit all travel in general to Ontario and only if it's legislatively required. So it's not eliminating all travel budgets that we have within the budget.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm understanding that now. And I guess my other question with it too was it all, I thought, and I should have asked for clarification. So I made some assumptions that it was meaning travel. It was also you know, limiting the amount of like staff that have to travel from here to there just for meetings and things like that, right? Like trying to, anything that could be virtual, you know, like, you know how people just travel in and around, like for regional meetings, for meetings with local municipalities, partners, et cetera. So I guess, you know, I just was surprised the number was low. I've said that about 10 times. Is the number it is. I would have expected there to be more savings in that department. So if you're telling me there's not, unless we give you different direction.
Yeah, through the chair. So like eliminating this, it's eliminated going forward. So if we would further reduce the travel, there'd be a lot of implications to that. Some, like travel includes mileage for moving between sites. And there are some regulatory requirements for training and that type of thing that staff would have. So that would be a significant adjustment if we were looking at something like that.
Councillor Salonen.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Very much picking up along the same lines of Councillor McCabe, and I know I had mentioned it when this came to committee. I also was anticipating that council would be included in this, and maybe I was too subtle at committee in my comments, but using, for example, Roma, I was frankly pretty surprised that we had about 5 or 6 staff from the region there. That was more than I think actual representative elected officials from the region. And I know myself and the other mayors who did attend, we had our own staff person and it was paid through our township. So I was kind of hoping that we'd be looking at that dynamic, but I'm assuming, and where my question is, would that have to be policy direction that we look at limiting the number of support staff that we have that attend these types of conferences?
Yeah, I think it's partly policy and it's partly practice. And I sometimes staff come just for the day as well. Mm-hmm. So I think it's something on a go-forward basis we can make a point of focusing on.
Okay, but that would be policy if that is something we want to change, because I think that's, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Councillor McCabe, but I think that might be getting a bit more towards what where our expectations have differed on what staff have brought forward. And I appreciate that staff did the exercise of the 5% or the whatever percent we went with, but okay, thank you.
Thank you, okay. It's been moved and seconded. I see no other speakers, so I'm going to ask you to use your e-scribe to please vote. Thank you. That is carried, colleagues. I would again call on Wayne Steffler, Commissioner of Corporate Services and Chief Financial Officer, to introduce the final finance report.
Thank you. So what we have here is a bit of a summary of some of what our initial reactions in terms of areas that could be impacted by the potential tariffs. So just a reminder too, prior to any of the tariff discussions that have been happening, we were seeing increased costs across several of our services, including road maintenance, transit, water, wastewater, facility upgrades. And so at that time, we were looking at, the need to maybe reassess project timelines and prioritize infrastructure, critical investments in infrastructure. So the tariffs add another layer of uncertainty, which significant risk to our local economy, municipal finances, and service delivery. While the situation continues to evolve, proactive financial planning and collaboration with stakeholders will be essential in mitigating the impacts. So the region has been working with the Waterloo Economic Development Corporation to develop an action plan that support local businesses. We're also engaging with other municipalities through organizations such as the Ontario Regional and Single Tier Treasurers, AMO, FCM, and these efforts are focused on developing coordinating strategies to advocate for federal and provincial funding, which could also help offset any potential impacts. Additionally, we are looking at reviewing procurement processes, exploring ways to strengthen our Made in Canada provisions. The goal is to support local industries and contribute to national economic resilience. And we'll continue to monitor developments and provide regular updates to Council. If the tariff are implemented, we will bring forward recommendations to address financial, economic, and service delivery risks as they might arise. Thank you.
Councillor Ravanovich.
Thanks, Chair Redmond, and thanks to staff for this report. I think we all know that the challenges that municipalities across the country are facing, and the country as a whole is facing as a result of this threat is significant. I want to thank Mayor Liggett last week for hosting a meeting of the mayors and yourself, Madam Chair, to begin to collectively look at how we can work together as area municipalities in tackling these issues. As we know, the responsibility for business retention and so on rests with area municipalities, and so having those of us who are part of the area municipal councils engaged in this issue together with Waterloo Region EDC is extremely important as we look at various options for how we can preserve our local economic development and make sure that we support the businesses in our communities going forward on these issues. We also know that as is pointed out in the report, there are a number of opportunities for us to engage with other elected officials, both from this side of the border and on the other side of the border, to tackle this issue. I can tell you from 2003, through the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, Canadian municipalities were quite engaged in responding to the softwood lumber tariffs at that time. And at the behest of the Canadian government, were able to advocate with their counterparts in the United States, because it was recognized that while certainly having bilateral meetings was helpful, the most impactful thing was to raise awareness between ourselves and our American counterparts, so that they can then go and advocate with their national government for the changes that were necessary and to get them on board. And quite frankly, at that time, we were successful. I think we are in a different world now, where unfortunately we're seeing an administration that is not only turning their traditional trade agreements with their closest, neighbor, friend, and ally upside down, but quite frankly is turning, much of the world order upside down with some of the announcements that they've been making. And so, while certainly there are challenges potentially ahead, I think the other thing that's important to remember is that we've been able to, work collectively well together, as well as with our provincial and federal government, and will continue to do so in order to tackle the challenges, any challenges that come before us going forward.
Thank you. Okay, so this is received for information. I think we would be prudent to acknowledge the flux that we find ourselves in and the fact that there is chaos abounding, and we will keep our heads and continue to collaborate and move forward. So thank you for that. The next agenda item is 11.2 Committee Report, Sustainability, Infrastructure and Development Summary from February 11th, 2025. And I would consider a motion to accept this report. Moved by Councillor McCabe, seconded by Councillor Harris. Councillor Salonen.
Yes, thank you. I was just hoping that for 11.2.1 that we could separate the vote, particularly item number 1 on the motion, to vote on that separately. And then item 2 and 3 together, that's fine. So I just want to pull out the waste management 18 temporary positions.
Sorry, so do you want to vote on item 1 and 3 and take 2 separately?
No, I want to take item 1 separately.
Oh, okay.
Yes, 1-1, I guess.
All
yeah.
right, so moving item 1.
Thank you.
That's been moved and seconded. If everybody could use e-scribe to vote on that. Clerks is just going to separate them so we know what we're voting on. So colleagues, the first one is dealing with curbside waste collection. I guess we select and collect. So it's now on your screen. It's been moved and seconded. So I'd ask you to use your e-scribe to vote. Colleagues, that is carried. So now we're going to do 2 and 3, and we will give clerks a minute to put that up. Councillor Salonen, is that a legacy hand, or do you want to speak to these two? Oh, that's a legacy. It's spelled correctly. Colleagues, that is carried. Thank you. 11.2.2 is Community and Health Services Committee Summary, February 11th, 2025. There are no recommendations from this. The next agenda item is Administration and Finance Committee Summary, February 11th, 2025. And there is a summary. If I could have a mover and a seconder for this report. Moved by Councillor Erb, seconded by Councillor Wolf. Please use your e-scribe to vote. Colleagues, that is carried. The next report is 11.2.4 Library Committee Summary, dated February 25th, 2025. And there are 2 recommendations. If I could have a mover, and it moved by Councillor Salonen and seconded by Councillor Nowak. Please use your e-scribe to vote. Colleagues, that is carried. We have 1 item coming out of closed from tonight's meeting, February 26, 2025. And it's not the Library Committee. We voted on that. In just a minute, we'll put it up. So it's moved by Councillor Foxton, seconded by, yes. Can I have a seconded by Councillor Wolf? but I will read it before we ask you to vote on it, is that the regional municipality approve a tentative memorandum of settlement for the region's seniors services staff represented by Unifor Local 1106 for the period of January 1st, 2025 to December 31st, 2027, outlined in a report HRD-LRE-24-003. Please use your e-scribe to vote. Thank you, and Commissioner Konopka, if you don't mind relaying our gratitude to your team for a successful negotiation. The next agenda item is a Board of Health update, and I would look to Dr. Wong, Commissioner of Public Health and Paramedic Services, and our Medical Officer of Health to provide an update. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair Redmond, and good evening, members of Council. Thank you for the opportunity to present a Board of Health update with information about influenza, measles, and our annual enforcement of the Immunization of School Pupils Act. Beginning with influenza, the Public Health Agency of Canada's Flu Watch report released on February 21st indicates that influenza test positivity has reached 27%, the highest so far this season. This is consistent with our local trends as numbers of respiratory outbreaks in long-term care homes, retirement homes, and congregate living settings are peaking at this time. The Public Health Inspection Team, as well as the local Infection Prevention and Control Hub, continue to work with facilities to help manage respiratory and gastrointestinal outbreaks to protect the most vulnerable populations. Moving on to measles, there has been increased measles activity in southwestern Ontario, with confirmed cases in neighboring health unit jurisdictions. At this time, there have been no cases reported in Waterloo region. While measles cases are usually linked to travel outside of Ontario, since measles is highly contagious, a single case can result in local outbreaks, particularly among unimmunized individuals. Measles can cause serious illness and death. Infants under the age of 1, unimmunized pregnant individuals, and people with weakened immune systems are at increased risk of complications. Measles symptoms begin 7 to 21 days after infection and may include high fever, cough, runny nose, red watery eyes, and a red rash lasting 4 to 7 days. There are steps residents can take to protect themselves and their families. 1, ensure you are up to date with measles vaccinations. And 2, monitor yourself and your family for signs and symptoms of measles, especially after returning from international travel or areas experiencing measles outbreaks. If you develop symptoms, limit contact with other people, call your healthcare provider or walk-in clinic and notify them about your symptoms before the appointment so they can take precautions to prevent others from getting sick. Wear a medical mask when seeking care, and for more information about measles, you can visit our website at regionofwaterloo.ca/measles. And finally, an update about the Immunization of School Pupils Act. This week, parents of elementary students with incomplete immunization records on file with Public Health began to receive suspension orders as part of the annual enforcement of the Immunization of School Pupils Act. These orders are the formal notification that a child will be suspended if their records are not up to date before April 2nd, 2025. This week, 8,980 suspension orders are being mailed directly to parents. Parents began receiving letters of notification for incomplete immunization information from Public Health in November of last year. There were 13,100 letters of notification issued. These numbers align with what we have seen historically regarding the number of suspension orders sent based on the number of notification letters. Parents still have several weeks to ensure their child's records are updated, either by submitting the records, receiving the required vaccines, or submitting an exemption. It is important that parents, guardians, remember that they need to regularly report their child's vaccinations to public health. Healthcare providers do not report these vaccinations to public health. And finally, students or parents can be directed to submit immunization records or book online appointments for these clinics at regionofwaterloo.ca/vaccines. Thank you, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Wong. I have a question. I actually went to Communitech this week, and they were looking at some of the AI improvements, and one of them was tracking vaccines. What system do we use in order to send out that mass volume of letters to parents and track whether or not the immunization is up to the speed?
Normally, we have information systems that are mandated by the province, especially if they're for provincial programs. Sometimes we have our own systems if, for example, we can improve upon some of the processes for efficiency or convenience purposes. Like we do have our own system that allows us to have parents report their vaccinations to us. So it varies, it depends. But yeah, we try to, we either have to use provincially mandated systems or we try to find solutions locally where we can. And so, of course, we are always interested in local solutions if, it can improve service or efficiency.
Thank you very much. That's a great volume of data to work through in a short period of time.
Yes.
Thank you. Colleagues, there are no other matters under the Committee of the Whole, so we need a motion for the Committee of Whole to rise and Council to resume. Moved by Councillor McCabe, seconded by Councillor Schatz. Please use your e-scribe to vote. And you're voting that the Committee of the Whole rise and Council resume. Colleagues, that is carried. We now need a motion to adopt proceedings of the Committee of the Whole. If I could have a mover, moved by Councillor Foxton, seconded by Councillor Salonen. Please use your e-scribe to vote that the Council adopt the proceedings of the Committee of the Whole. That is carried. Councillor Foxton, he's just making sure you're paying attention. We have no motions, notice of motions. We have no unfinished business. Other business? Councillor Foxton.
I wanted to clear up maybe a misconception. My present beetle did not die in a puddle. It was an older beetle. Thank you.
We have no questions. Thank you for that clarification. We now need a motion to enact bylaws for second and third readings. If I could have a mover, moved by Councillor Craig, seconded by Councillor Nowak. Please use your e-scribe to vote. That is carried. I'm now going to cast my eyes up to people who are joining virtually and say, do either of you two councillors want to move and second a motion to adjourn? Moved by Councillor Leggett, seconded by Councillor Williams, please use your e-scribe to vote. Councillor Salonen, do you want to stay, or are you going to vote in favor of? Thank you very much, colleagues. Great, very productive evening. Safe home. And